The rugged Badlands of North Dakota were inspirational to a young Theodore Roosevelt. However, many today in the U.S. don't even know about North Dakota's beauty. My journey to ski the state high points and explore the last wilds in the lower 48 in winter brought me to 3 areas. I was scouting for unknown backcountry ski lines and sought to learn about the public lands here. The journey would uncover that and a bigger story. My first stop was the state high point, White Butte. It tops out at 3,507 feet above sea level. The wind chill was a moderate minus 15 degrees, and the collection of buttes reminded me of barren, Rocky Mountain summits, sliced off and stuck on the plains. There was good skiing on White Butte and other places, but not on this route. There was, however, enough to complete a top-to-bottom ski. I went north to Theodore Roosevelt National Park, where there is an established cross-country skiing center when the snow permits. I was eyeing gullies from photos that showed under better snow you could actually get some nice turns here. Just stay clear of the buffalo. North Dakota has 3 downhill ski areas. The highest is Huff Hills, with 425 feet of vertical. This is where you'll find the local Earn Your Turns community.
As far as the backcountry scene goes here in North Dakota, more specifically the Bismarck-Mandan area, it's not always open, it's not always filled in. But when we do get that snow and we're lucky enough to get out there, we go find it, whether it be in town, up on the bluffs of the Missouri River, or one lift ride up at Huff off the back. We'll go get it. We'll be on snowshoes, we'll be on split boards. We're always out there having a good time though.
The next stop is the best place for touring in western North Dakota, Killdeer Mountain. It has the vertical and the most snow. The place has a lot of history, so I spoke with Calvin Grinnell, a historian from the 3 affiliated tribes. No group has a greater connection with the land here than the 6 original tribes of the region who treasure the highlands and canyons.
Among our native peoples, we believe that each of the buttes, the hills that were on the prairie here, were the homes of various spirits that lived in these places. Doshadzi means Wadogadidia. Good afternoon, good day. My name is Running Elk. This area and this Killdeer Mountains has a lot of significance, cultural significance, not only to the Mandan-Hidatsa and Rikra people, but also to the Sioux people. They were known as the Singer Buttes. They were the residents of a huge owl who sang. This Killdeer Mountains was the place where the origin of what is called the earth naming ceremony. It was a ceremony where all the spirits came and gathered together, and the owl would sing songs, sort of have a meeting.
It was also here that the U.S. Army slaughtered and scattered Sioux refugees. The Sioux had been kicked out of their homeland so colonists could mine gold in the Black Hills. Today, the land is still in colonist hands. Skiing and access is blocked. So how did this happen? Well, under the Treaty of Fort Laramie, the Sioux, Mandan-Hidatsa, and Crow were granted millions of acres in return for allowing immigrants to safely pass to Oregon. Once gold and other resources valuable to corporations were discovered here, lands were taken away through tricky laws such as the Dawes Act.
The Dawes Act allowed the federal government to sell pieces of treaty land which should have been protected, and there was not really any oversight with any sort of tribal government or tribal elders to protect these places. So sacred sites like Killdeer Mountain could be, taken and sold, and there would be no way for anyone within a tribe to know that this action had happened. And they were under the understanding and thought that they had the good faith of the U.S. government to stick to this treaty and original agreement.
One of the challenges is there's sacred sites that exist on private land that Native people can no longer access. And we've had that issue where we're at here in Arizona, in the Dakotas as well. That's Killdeer Mountain is one I've heard about before. And, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things of like, I don't even know where do you even begin with the landowner that doesn't even want to let Native people visit these sites.
While Killdeer Mountain remains off limits, the state does have 4% of its land as federal public land. And while that is little compared with surrounding states, that 4% happens to include the most dramatic and important wild habitat. These lands, valued by both local tribes and local sportsmen, are under siege. The Bakken Shale Formation directly overlays the state's best wild land. You can learn more about this in part 2 of this documentary. Gullies and ridgelines, which collect drifted snow here, can give hundreds of feet of vertical and sustain backcountry skiing. The Badlands of North Dakota may not be as famous as the Badlands of South Dakota, but they get a lot more snow and have plenty of adventures for those who wish to visit in the winter.
Nu etatsuk nu makere inini tau hekteki waruda ho. Bahere mahere shminat kadao go koshere bahere mahere shminat kadao.
Filming here, I couldn't ignore the industrialized rural landscape. North Dakota recently became number 2 in the nation for crude production. This is due to modern horizontal drilling and fracking technologies that unlock and move the oil in the Bakken Shale Formation. The Bakken oil fields are large enough to not have to drill in special areas like Killdeer Mountain or the Little Missouri Badlands. But respect for the land is second to greed, as lobbyists have access to state government here. The state government plans to develop every last square mile of the area, irregardless of the opinions of residents. In a replay of the Old West, Wall Street once again is behind the effort, with Goldman Sachs being a major player. Federal, state, and tribal lands are at risk.
Our public land are definitely under attack from the oil and gas industry that wants to, they basically rent the land for pennies on the dollar, employ some people, but for the harm that it does, it's minute, and then they're shipping it on a train across the West and putting it on a barge and going to China. So that is a constant threat to the public lands there.
I think for a lot of tribes it becomes this difficult question of how do they become economically self-sufficient yet still maintain these values. And I think for a number of tribes that are really heavily developing natural resources, that's an ongoing debate that they have to figure out for themselves and where their values lie. Environmentally, the challenges and the impacts are very real and they're very serious. But now, with the booms and busts of oil, it's not a sustainable model for having it being your only source of revenue and income. Yeah, we can make a bunch of money off of it. True, but that's just going to be our lifetime. And the thing is is the impact that we're going to have going to affect people beyond this that have no choice into the life that they're born into the environmental damage that they're inheriting. And that's not a fair thing to burden on future generations.
In June of last year, the state approved an oil refinery just 3 miles from Theodore Roosevelt National Park, despite the park being the state's largest tourist attraction. Citizens are aware of the arrogance of Lindhelms and other industry puppets, and some have been protesting ever since the Dakota Access Pipeline sparked outrage.
Documenting on a public sidewalk. Do I have the right to film from here? Get down on the street! Get out of the street, or you will be arrested. Order them into the street. He just told them to get into the street.
A weak state government allows corporations to pull the strings. Police serve Goldman Sachs over the citizens. It is a place where journalists have been charged with 45 years in prison, and Native Americans are arrested for standing up for their tribal land rights.
So for people who didn't follow, at Standing Rock, we recently had the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is a fight that we unfortunately were not victorious against. And it's a difficult and painful struggle. In order for indigenous people to stand up and protect land, it's much easier when we all do it together, when we all stick to those original codes which bonded us since the beginning of time and have bonded us with this land.
North Dakota is full of beautiful places, sacred places, and is worth saving. Stand up, resist total exploitation, and check out the nonprofits listed at the end of this show.
Confronted by the Ally Nation, Alien Nation, the subjects and the citizens see the material religions through trauma and numb. Nothing is related. All the things of the earth and in the sky have energy to be exploited. Even themselves, mining their spirits into souls sold. Into nothing is sacred, not even their self. The Ally Nation, Alien Nation.
So we live there in the earth, and we are like the roots of that grass, and we are like the roots of that tree. We depend upon that water to feed our children, to nourish us, and to wash us, and to cleanse us, and to take all those bad things away from us, because we are a part of the earth. Nuwata people.